Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about how I got my score from 720 to 800. It really wasn't a hard process. You just really need to know the 5 factors that improves your credit. And so I'm going to start by reading them out. So there are 5 factors that makes your credit great. So the bottom line is that credit is used so that you can establish payment history. The banks and the creditors and the institutions created the system to help better understand individuals who are borrowing from them and better understand those individuals and their money managing habits. And so when you have a good credit score, that means that you are managing money pretty well. When you have a poor credit score, that means that you need some help and you are not as trustworthy, and therefore they may charge that person more to borrow from them. So in order to get your credit score higher, this is what I learned. So the first factor is you need to have a certain number of new credit accounts over time. Like if you go 5 years without opening a new credit account, it kind of looks like, what is this person doing? Do they have the cash to pay for everything, or have they not applied for credit just because they aren't using credit well in the moment? So you need 10% of new credit at all times, and I would suggest every 1 to 2 years, and at max in your lifespan, no more than 5. Also, 30% of your credit is made up of amounts owed. So 30% of your amounts owed factors into the score. What does that mean? That means that if you have a lot of debt and not too much credit to borrow, and you're past the 30% mark, it looks bad. So let's do some numbers here, right? Let's say you have a credit card and your credit card limit is $500. If you use 30% of $500, that's about $150. So if you owe $150 on that credit card account, that's cool. That's about 30%. And if you keep it there every month, you're using credit well and you're likely to have the highest score you can possibly have. However, if you exceed 150 when your bill is due, your accounts are above 150, it's going to look like your amounts owed are past the 30% mark. And that really just means that your utilization is too high. You're using too much of your credit, meaning you're allowing yourself to owe too much within that calendar month. So you really just want to keep it under 30%. That's for all accounts. That's for every single credit card you have. And so the next thing is 35% of your payment history factors into your score. So if you have mostly on-time payment history, then that's going to count for 35% of your score. And that is the biggest amount. That is the biggest percentage. So you really do need to pay on time. That one late payment that you made last year is going to hurt you. Then there's 15% of credit length or history. So only a small amount is counted on like how long you had credit. If you're a college student, you just started, it's like, yeah, you just started. But if you're like 48 and you only have 5 years of credit, it kind of looks like this system has been around for so long, how come you haven't been using it? And then 10% is credit mix. So there's 2 types of credit accounts. There's a revolving credit account and there's an installment credit account. Revolving is a credit card. Anytime the debt revolves, 1 month you owe 150, the next month you owe 300. That's a revolving account, usually a credit card. An installment account is like a student loan or car loan where like the debt goes down. So it starts at 30,000, but as you make payments, it goes down and it goes down, and that payment never changes. So you really just want to have a credit mix. If you only have credit cards, your score is gonna stay, and you make on-time payments, you're never late, blah blah. But you only have credit cards, your score is going to stay at 720 wherever it is now. If you only have student loans and car loans, you have no credit cards, your score is going to stay. You need that mix. You need that credit, auto loan, student loan. I'm not saying go out there and get it just so you can have the credit mix, but it does help. So bringing it back to my story, how did I get my score from 720 to 800? Well, I lacked credit mix. I paid on time. I've always paid on time. I've always utilized under 30% of my credit limit, and I only had one credit card. You know, I had a student loan, I had an auto loan, so I did have a credit mix, right? But I didn't have enough of a mix. So the minute I got my second credit card, my score skyrocketed to about 775. And then I'm like, damn, but it's high, but it's not high enough for me. Like, I just want to boost my ego. Then I realized, whoa, I'm using 30% of my limit. I need to make it smaller. So what I did, which is a nice trick I like to tell everyone, is I would use the cards as I want to, as I please. I would use my credit cards as I wanted to. If I wanted to use the whole balance, I use the whole balance. But before the card is due, I would pay it down to 0. Really, you want to stay under 30%, but the trick is to stay between 1 to 9% of your credit limit. Then you're doing a great job. And like, again, let's say you have a $500 limit. 0.09% of that is $45. So anytime you go above $45 and you leave the debt there on your balance for the month, like your card is due on the 3rd and you pay it on the 5th, but it's $45, so you don't care, it's still going to read as if you have some debt. So my trick to everyone is to make sure you pay your cards down to 0 before the due date is due. I will say this, sometimes I did overuse the cards that I have, and in the middle of the month they're like, oh, your debt increased, and so your score went down back to 766. So you really just have to figure out at what time during the month is your debts read by the credit bureaus, and so that you can have it down to under 30% or down to 0. Another thing is, if you have no credit, get on somebody else's credit history by becoming an authorized user. So you can get your score to 800 from 6 something to 800 if you get on somebody's credit account as an authorized user, and they have to have good credit. If they have bad credit, you're messing yourself up. But if the person has good credit history, the minute you're put on as an authorized user, you adopt all of their history, and you can easily get your score to 800 that way. But you really have to have someone who wants to do that for you. So for me, I've done it for my daughter. My daughter has an 800 score with me, and she's 6, but that's because she's an authorized user on all of my accounts. That is how I got my score from 720 to 800, and that's how you get your score up. Another thing is, sidebar, you don't need good credit if you're not using it. If you're not going to buy something, don't focus on credit. Focus on your basic liabilities, right? Utilities, housing, shelter. I just want to say that because some people be like, oh my God,